Welcome to Biff's Mystery Theater. I have many tales to tell you. Ghost stories, murder stories, and tales that will make your bones chill. Join me, won't you? For Theater of the Mind, where you always have the best seat in the house. Now close your eyes and turn off the lights.
Crime and Peter Chambers. Created by Henry Kane, transcribed and starring Dane Clark. A private investigator, duly licensed and duly sworn, Peter Chambers. You're a private eye. That's your business. Anything else? That's for laughs. You've got a slant of sun coming in the office window, your feet are on the desk, and you're relaxed. Business is lousy, but you've got no kicks. You're young, you're strong, you've got a few bucks in the bank. And it's a beautiful day.
You, Peter Chambers?
All of me, lady. Beautiful day, isn't it?
Not for you. Not for long, anyway.
She's a cute little trick, but nervous as a puppy with fleas. She's wearing a tan suit molded to her figure and properly protruding. Her dress is in perfect taste. Black nylons, black shoes, black blouse, and black gloves. So she spoils it. She dips into her bag, and what she produces doesn't quite go with the ensemble. Because now she's wearing a pearl-handled gun in her right fist. Looks like a .38, and is pointing directly at you. So you scrape back out of your chair, and you go to her.
Stand back. Stand back, I tell you.
Honey, you're not even holding the gun right.
I know what I'm doing. Keep away from me.
You're shaking like you're practicing to be a cooch dancer. Now relax, little lady.
Keep away, please, please.
Okay, now. I've got the gun, and you're still shaking. Now sit down, lady. What's your name?
Corey.
What do you do?
Do?
For a living. A gun moll, you ain't.
I'm an actress.
Working?
Yes.
Well, come on, sister. This is like pulling teeth. Let's have it all in one lump.
I have the second lead in The Lady Dances. It's in rehearsal. It's my first real job. It's produced by Jack Burke. He hired me. Anything else?
Where do you live?
1013 East 39th Street, 2B. Oh, please don't point that gun at me.
It's your gun, remember? Okay. I drop it in my jacket pocket like so. See? No more gun. Now, what's this jiggle all about?
Jiggle?
Look, it's a beautiful day. I'm sitting around with my feet on the desk dreaming my own personal little dreams. So a dame drops in, wriggling around a Roscoe, and the Roscoe's blinking its eye at me, so I got a right to ask. What's it all about?
Well, I can't...
Oh, that's coherent. Now, let's do it incoherent this time.
I came here to kill you.
Why?
I was sent.
By whom?
Bruce Burke.
Bruce Burke, huh? Well, it's all in the family. Jack Burke, Bruce Burke, two lonely brothers. Well, I never met your producer, but Bruce. Brucey boy, I know.
I'm sorry. I'm dreadfully sorry. Believe me, I don't think I could have. I couldn't. I know I couldn't.
All right, Elsa. Elsa Corey, simmer down. Just make yourself at home. I'll be back.
Where are you going?
To pay a call on Brucey boy. Maybe you can fill me in where you can't. Now, don't go away, baby. Papa will be back. Bruce Burke. A crumb right out of the bread box. A bum with a couple of $1 million. A sharpshooter that owns a nightclub called The Flame. You put the light out on the flame about a year ago, hooked him for watering his stock. So, it's a beautiful day, only for you, suddenly, it's beginning to shape up cloudy. You get to his Park Avenue address, stick your finger on the buzzer. Nobody's home. Well, you've been there before, a 12-room suite for Brucey and his missus. Plus, she's got an apartment on the side. And just for kicks, you try the knob, and very conveniently, the door's not locked. You're inside, but you don't go far. Bruce Burke is napping, face down. Only when you go to turn him over, Brucey boy's napping days are finished. The guy stiff as a bugle, 2 bullet holes in his face, and his rigid leer is like a spiteful grin. And suddenly you feel it. Call it extrasensory perception. You know you've been yanked into a deal that you ought to get out of. Fast. You do a beeline for the door, you pull it open, and you're face to face with Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker, New York City Police, homicide.
Hi, Pete. Fancy, as they say, meeting you here.
Hi, Lieutenant. Same fancy goes for me. What brings you?
Jingle on the phone, what they call anonymous.
Oh, I see. Come in.
Thanks for the welcome, Shamus. Hey, what do we got here?
Corpse. Body used to belong to Bruce Burke. Plus.
Plus what, kid?
Plus, I've got a hunch, a little frame job with me in the middle. Yeah, take a look at this. A little encumbrance I'm carrying in my pocket.
I handle it, you notice, by the muzzle. Pearl handle 38 revolver. Okay, what's scoop?
Break it, Lieutenant. I've a vague notion you're going to find 2 shells discharged. I also have a notion that ballistics will show that the 2 bullets in this monkey came out of the gun you're holding.
2 hunks of lead missing.
Figures. And my fingerprints on the handle. And my fingerprints on the doorknob. And me and Bruce Burke supposed to have a feud going.
I hope you got a good story for me, kid. We've been friends a long time.
And a little dame wearing gloves. I'll bet mine are the only fingerprints on that Roscoe.
Better be a good story, kiddo.
Salute, Lieutenant. Lend an ear. You tell him the tale and he listens. Louie's an old friend. You've worked together for years. He promises a thorough check on the situation, and you promise to be down to see him to check the check. You leave him the pearl-handle pistol, and you leg it to the next spot that might furnish a little information. The Lady Dances is rehearsing at the Ascot on 48th off Broadway. Backstage, there's one solitary guy working a song on a piano.
Well, what do you want, bub?
Looking for Jack Burke.
I'm Jack Burke.
Stands up from the piano, very fashionable type. White hair, slender figure, $200 suit.
Well, what is it, young man? What do you want here?
Oh, I thought there was a rehearsal going on.
It's off for a while.
Oh, may I ask?
No, you may not ask. What do you want here?
Oh, name's Peter Chambers. I'm a private detective. I'd like to inquire about a young lady, Miss Elsa Corey.
I'm not messing into the affairs of every private shummus that comes barging backstage for some cockeyed reason of his own.
Look, Mr. Burke, if
I haven't got the time.
Now, just one little minute, Mr. Burke.
Oh, like that, is it? You want to play tough boy, huh? Willie!
A muscle-bound monster comes ambling out of the wings. The guy's 6'4" and practically as wide as he's long. Willie's got a face that's half moron, half pig. And the part of the pig is dangling in a couple of ham-like hands. But you're not worried about Willie. You've got a large ego and a lot of confidence. And you think you can take Willie if you had the time. But right now, you don't have the time. So you turn from Willie to get back to Jack Burke. But you've underestimated Willie. Willie's not as amiable as he looks. You get a hit in the head like a stroke of paralysis. And the lights blaze and start whirling. And then there are no more lights. There's blackness. Whirling, spinning, blackness. You open your eyes and you're sitting on a sidewalk, sprawled like a drunk that forgot how to stop. You're backed against the stage door, but it's locked. You've got a bill to collect with a joker named Willie and a larger bill with his boss, Jack Burke. But you can't. Now. Thoughts joggle in your mind, and then you know where you're going. Loretta Burke is the wife of Bruce Burke, and she's got a lush little cave of her own on Central Park South. You head for it thinking about her. Loretta Burke, who managed a nightclub called The Flame. You head for her diggings, and then you're there.
Hello, Mr. Chambers. What do I owe the pleasure?
A lush blonde, 30 years younger than Bruce. A page boy blonde with shining hair and shining green eyes. And a figure that brings it to a full stop. Loretta Burke in silver lounging pajamas.
Always nice to see you, Mr. Chambers. May I offer a drink?
You may. I can use it.
Here you are, Mr. Chambers.
Thank you.
Well, you're not yourself today, are you? Gulping your drink.
Well, for a very recent widow, Mrs. Burke, you're certainly bearing up staunchly.
I didn't know that you knew.
Well, let's do a reverse on that, sweetie. I didn't know for sure that you knew.
Look, tough boy, I don't believe in mourning. I don't wear my heart on my sleeve.
No, what do you wear it?
Inside, where it belongs. I'm a gal with a lousy reputation, but in my own peculiar way, I loved him.
Maybe you did in your own peculiar way.
Well, let's put it this way. Whoever killed him, sooner or later, is going to face up to me. Now, you got any comment, Mr. Chambers?
I don't know. This started off as such a beautiful day, and me sitting around thinking about how business is lousy.
Maybe you ought to get out of here and see if you can't stimulate a little.
Gentle hint, Mrs. Burke?
I've got a lot of things to do.
I get it. Well, one question before I leave. You know a little dame by the name of Elsa Corey?
Never heard of her.
Bye now. See you around.
You bet you will.
Outside, you called the office about Elsa Corey, but of course our little birdie has jumped the chicken coop. You do a small debate with yourself. Corey or Parker? Which one first? But you promised the lieutenant, so you'll nosy police headquarters downtown. You're jogging up the steps when you see him coming out. Now hurry.
Well, the private eye, or is it the public enemy? You coming to give yourself up?
Lieutenant is jocular, but he looks worried, and when a friend looks worried, you begin to worry.
That was the murder gun, Pete, no question. I'm working it slow, working the angles first, because you're involved. But that little Elsa Corey better be around to back up your story.
Well, what else is new, Lieutenant?
Jack Burke's been scouting for dough for his show. He needs money. Bruce's wife, that doll, always needed dough. Well, they're both falling into it.
How?
Bruce Burke's will. Jack gets half the estate, Loretta Burke gets the other half, plus the nightclub goes to her.
Real cozy, huh?
Look, pal, you're not one for throwing stones. Not in this case. So far, all I've really got is you.
Yeah. You've been a doll, Lieutenant, a living, breathing doll.
Don't depend on it, Pete, not for too long. I know you, but there's a DA's beginning to champ at the bit, so let me go to work now, huh?
Where are you heading for?
Date with Jack Burke.
Jack Burke, where?
Casa Moretti, upstairs, private room, number 4.
Look, Louis, one more favor. Give me a 10-minute head start, huh?
Head start with whom?
Jack Burke. I've got a bill to collect, and it's overdue. 10 minutes, Lieutenant? Oh, please, Louis.
Okay, but I hope you know what you're doing.
Oh, I hope so, too. Casa Moretti is in Greenwich Village, and it serves the longest, skinniest, most flavorsome spaghetti west of a little town called Rome, which they tell me is in Italy. Casa Moretti has a downstairs dining room and an upstairs private room where you can run yourself a tete-a-tete or a banquet, depending on your mood. Your mood right now is for a little private chatter, and you rub your knuckles against a door marked 4.
What? You again? Now, look here.
First, you trip him because you owe it to him.
No!
Then you close the door. Then you drag him into the room. And you give him a quick frisk, but there isn't a thing on him that's incriminating. So now you pick him up and deposit him in a chair. And you slap him back to consciousness.
What?
Now, live it up, Mr. Burke. Come on, listen to the birdie sing.
I'm listening. And you're no birdie. What do you want?
A bit of polite conversation, nothing more.
Well, what do you want?
Johnny One Note, that's me. A little lady by name Elsa Corey. Know her?
Yes, she's the second lead in the show we're rehearsing.
Know her any, better than that?
She's an actress in my show, period.
Have it your way. According to her, she says your brother sent her to see me. Did you introduce her to your brother?
No.
You happen to know if your brother was acquainted with her?
My brother is dead.
I know that.
And from what I hear, you, a private eye by the name of Chambers, you hated his guts.
I'm supposed to know all about that, too.
All right. Is there anything else?
No. I told you all I wanted was a bit of polite conversation.
Well, then get out of here.
Say it nice.
Would you please leave, Mr. Chambers?
Oh, a pleasure, Mr. Burke. A pleasure indeed. There's one stop left. You've done the merry-go-round. You've gone the full circle. Elsa Corey said 1013 East 39th Street. Turns out to be a tinderbox. Ramshackle is an ancient barn on a prairie. Young actresses don't have it too easy, and that is a problem. You climb up to 2B and you knock on a door that's thinner than Melba toast and has about as much resistance. Nobody answers. You turn to leave and all of a sudden, a hunch comes up and clobbers you. You shove a shoulder at the rattletrap door and you lean hard. You're inside now. Little room with the barest of trimmings. And your hunch is paid off because you're not alone. Elsa Corey sits in a chair and looks at you, but her eyes aren't blinking. Elsa Corey. Her face mottled and blue bruises on her throat. Elsa Corey strangled to death. So, it's still a beautiful day. Only it's not day anymore. It's nighttime. You've gone home and you've put in a little afternoon sleeping, but it hasn't helped. You're way down deep in a jam and you feel it beginning to close in.
How goes it, Pete, boy?
Pretty bad.
Yeah, bad.
Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker, a nice guy and a good friend, but the expression on his face is that of a pallbearer with rheumatism doing his job on a rainy day.
Ain't good, pal. Stinks, in fact.
Yeah.
Elsa Corey, she's dead.
Yeah.
We got another one of them phone calls. Anonymous.
I can clear that for you.
Like how?
I made that phone call.
You did?
Yeah. I busted into her place and I found her. Like what you found when you got there.
You know what it means, kid.
Got an idea?
You had one little out, an alibi witness named Elsa Corey. Now she ain't with us no more. Where's that leave you?
Crouched behind the 8-ball, only keeps getting smaller.
Pete, you know how I feel about you, but... wanna come downtown with me now, fella, and tussle it out with the DA's people?
Well, must we...
What's left, kid?
Well, I've got a little night duty to attend to. I've been sort of resting up for it.
Night duty?
Yeah, look. Let's make a date, Louis. I either collect a killer for you or I present myself.
Present yourself when?
Let's say tomorrow morning, bright and early tomorrow morning. You either get a closed case by then or you've got me.
You know, I only work for a living, Pete. I can get kicked off the force.
I never crossed you up, Louis, ever. It's been a long time now, you and me. It's one for the storybooks, a private eye and a public cop who can work together and who respect each other. We got a deal.
Deal it is, eh?
Bye, Lieutenant.
Bye, Detective.
The Flame is a nightclub on the outskirts of town, and that's your next stop. And the last stop, you figure, one way or another. You get the car out of the garage, you drive up and park in their parking lot. The club is a distance off, and you crunch through gravel on your way. You see a uniformed cop a distance off, but you don't see what's right close near you.
Easy does it, mister.
Well, if it ain't little Willie.
That's me, pal.
Willie's loaded with artillery and is jammed to your ribs.
Back up to that shed, mister. Double time we do it.
But you're not having any. You're not turning your back on Willie. You did that once, and once is enough. So the left comes down on the gun, and the right goes to the chin. And down goes Willie with me on top of him. The gun gets kicked out of the way, and Willie absorbs a few additional raps, and then my hands are around his throat.
You're choking me.
That's the general idea, Willie.
Let up, mister. Let up. Let up.
New position, Willie. Now I'm sitting across you like you're a hassock, and my fingers are still around that bull neck of yours. And you're a little weaker, Willie. You're quite a little weaker. Talk, Willie.
What do you want to know?
Why did you conk me backstage at the Ascot?
I got the signal from Jack.
You work for him?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're in rhythm now. Why did you croak Bruce Burke?
I didn't.
Oh, you need a little more pressure on your throat. Is that it?
No, I had nothing to do with Bruce.
Okay. Elsa Corey. Talk it up good now, Willie. Well, okay.
I went there, 39th Street. Jack sent me. I did a job on her like Jack told me to do.
Willie passes out of the picture. You get up off him, collect his gun, and go looking for the cop, and latch law onto Willie with instructions to deposit him in the lap of Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker. Then you brush at your clothes, and you make for the nightclub. The joint is jumping, and it's temptation, but you haven't got the time. You steer through the joyous people to the door marked Office of the Manager, and you open it without knocking.
Well, Peter Chambers, we were just talking about you. Close the door.
The other half of that we is Jack Burke. He's in a tuxedo. And Loretta is in a red off-the-shoulder job that almost gets your mind off your work. But the old mind comes right back to attention because dear Loretta shoves a lily white hand to the desk door and comes up caressing an ugly 45.
Sit down, Mr. Chambers.
Oh, thanks. I'll stand.
Jack and I have been chatting about you.
In what connection?
In connection with the death of my husband.
Lady, you're pointing that gun in the wrong direction.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Jack Burke, who dreamed himself up a foolproof little murder, only I'm going to take it apart for him right now.
This had better be good.
Listen, this guy is in a jam with his show. He's looking for money all over town. Do you know whether he has Bruce for long?
Yes, I know he did. And Bruce turned him down. Bruce had no confidence in the lady dancers.
So Bright Boy figured one out. If he bums Bruce, he gets half of his estate. Even if he can't get the loot right away, he can borrow on a strength of it. So he kills him.
He's a liar.
He knows a little dame, second lead, Elsa Corey. This kid doesn't know which end is up. He gives her the cleaned-up gun, and she's wearing gloves, so it's still clean.
And what is she supposed to do with
She's
it?
supposed to come to me because Jack thinks there's bad blood between me and Bruce. She's to threaten me, not shoot me. No, nothing like that. And she's to tell me that Bruce sent her.
Bruce? Why Bruce?
Because this guy figured it exactly as it happened.
Oh.
I took the gun away from her. I went to Bruce to find out what it was all about. The door was conveniently left open for me, and I found Bruce like this bum had left him. And then a cop show, spurred by an anonymous phone tip. Cute, huh?
Cute enough. Where's the girl? That Elsie Corey.
Yes, where is she? Where is she?
Look at him wiggle. The big producer. Where is she? She's dead.
What?
He wasn't going to let her hang around to testify against him, was he? Did you ever hear of Willie?
Of course.
Willie choked her to death.
Proof, not words.
The law's caught up with Willie. He's yodeling out there like a broken-down jukebox.
Well, that's proof against Willie, not proof against me.
Look at him, squirming like a rat with his tail in a trap. Look at him. How much more proof do you want? The lady looks. Guilt is scribbled on him like the devil is written on his forehead. She lifts the gun, and for a minute you think it's for you. But it isn't. There isn't much left to look at when you get to him. And all of it is very dead.
All right. It's over, and it's done with.
Mind if I sit down for just a couple of minutes?
Sit.
It was a beautiful day before it shaped up cloudy.
What are you talking about?
Then a dame comes in and threatens me with a gun, and I get myself jammed up with the law as a murder suspect, and I get pushed around by an ape named Willie, and then I almost catch up at the wrong end of your 45, but it's finally developed into business.
Business? From whom?
You.
Me?
Next stop for you is a pokey. Maybe with a good lawyer. Who knows? It turns out justifiable homicide.
That's business for a lawyer, not for you.
True enough, but a lawyer's got to have facts. Now, who's better at getting up facts for you than yours truly?
I'm beginning to see what you mean. How much?
Well, for a lady who's coming into $1 million plus a swanky nightclub, how's $5,000?
You talked yourself into a client, Mr. Chambers. You're hired.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a bunch.
And there you've had Crime and Peter Chambers. Dane Clark was starred as Peter Chambers. Crime and Peter Chambers, transcribed, was created, produced, and written by Henry Kane. Others in the cast were Bill Zuckert, heard as Lieutenant Parker, Fran Carlin as Loretta, and Everett Sloan as Jack. It was directed by Fred Way, and this is Fred Collins inviting you to tune in again next week, same time, same station, for Dane Clark in Crime and Peter Chambers.
Visit with Fibber McGee and Molly tonight on the NBC Radio Network.
Crime and Peter Chambers. Created by Henry Kane, transcribed and starring Dane Clark. A private investigator, duly licensed and duly sworn. Peter Chambers.
You're a private eye. That's your business. Anything else? That's for laughs. There are no laughs in this one, not unless you're a ghoul. Because you're strolling in a graveyard at midnight. You're walking in a cemetery out on Long Island. That's the job of work you're being paid for. You've got a package in your left hand and a flashlight in your right. Your imagination is starting to do nip-ups. When you get an interruption.
Put out the flashlight.
Yes, sir.
Now reach back and hand me that package.
Well, you're supposed to give me the word.
Word?
Well, them's my instructions, pal. A real melodramatic bit. You're supposed to say a name.
Abner Reed.
Well, that's the jackpot answer. Reach and grab your prize. And notice, please, I've still got my head turned.
And it better stay that way if you don't want holes in it. And you stay the way you are for the next 5 minutes.
But you don't stay the way you are for the next 5 minutes, for 2 reasons. 1, 5 minutes in a graveyard is like, say, 5 years on the French Riviera. And 2, you're blessed, or is it cursed, with a large lump of curiosity. So you turn, and you don't turn a moment too soon because you drop. You look to where Mr. Invisible disappeared, but you don't try to go after him because he's gone. And all the way back to town, you ponder about why the guy took pot shots at you. You didn't see him. He made sure you didn't. So why the extra precaution of a spray of bullets? Well, he missed you, so you shrug it off, and pretty soon you're in town at the fancy Fifth Avenue mansion of Mrs. Abner Reed.
Well, back so soon, Mr. Chambers.
Mission accomplished, milady.
Come in. Please come in, sir.
Mrs. Abner Reed, born Florence Fleetwood Lovejoy, thrice married and rolling, you should pardon the expression, in mucho dinero, worth maybe $25 million, and reputed to be stingy about the whole thing.
Here's your fee, Mr. Chambers, as per agreement. $1,000.
Thank you, ma'am. And now, may I know what it's all about?
You know what was in that package?
Goulash for ghosts.
$250,000.
What?
$250,000.
Look, Mrs. Reed, you have a reputation for being, well, eccentric, but business transactions in the middle of the night in a graveyard.
That wasn't exactly a business transaction, Mr. Chambers.
Well, what then?
It was a delivery of ransom money.
What? You mean I'm mixed up in some kind of a cockeyed kidnapping?
Not exactly mixed up. You were an instrument of delivery. A chore for which you've just been paid.
The police know about this?
Not yet.
Not yet? Well, when do you expect to inform them?
Tomorrow morning.
Look, what happened here?
Well, last night, my husband stepped out for a newspaper.
Huh?
He didn't return for 2 hours. Naturally, I was perturbed.
Well, naturally.
I thought, well, perhaps he'd stepped into a tavern for a drink. But then I got a phone call. He'd been slugged, rendered unconscious, and kidnapped.
Well, how can you be sure?
There was no doubt. It was he himself who was talking to me, with a gun pointed at his head.
I see.
I was told they'd call back this morning, and they did.
Would you be able to recognize the voice?
They're too smart for that. They put him back on the phone.
Oh.
The arrangements were made, and then came the question as to who would make the delivery. You're very well known, Mr. Chambers, and yours is an excellent reputation.
Well, thank you.
They're supposed to return him to me during this night.
$250,000.
I'm regarded as, a rather frugal person, but this is different. We've only been married 6 months, and I believe you know from the newspapers, my husband is 20 years younger than I am.
Yes, Abner Reed, I read about it. And I suppose you want me to clear out of here.
Frankly, I do.
But you are going to the cops with this.
Definitely tomorrow morning, whether he's returned to me or not. At least then I'll know that I've done what I could to effect his release. They warned me that I was being watched. That if I called in the police, they'd kill him.
Easy does it, Mrs. Reed, easy. Good night, and thanks. So you go home. You feel sorry for the old gal with the young husband. You think she's nuts not to contact cops, but you can't creep into another person's soul. You go home and you have a bit of scotch and you chase it with another bit of scotch. You've had a tough evening and you're ready to wrap up this day and put it to bed when, in the middle of the night, you've got a caller. That's the life of a private eye, about as much privacy as a parakeet in a kindergarten. But it can always be a client. Somebody's turned off the corridor lights, and it's pitch black out there. And suddenly, the blackness is punctuated with blazes of light. Oh. You're hit, and you don't know how bad. You get to the phone. Hello? Oh, operator. A hospital. Emergency. You're under sedatives for a day while they probe for the bullets. Then you're sitting up in the hospital bed, raring to go. But they tell you 5 days. 5 days before they'll let you out of there. And then you get a caller, amiable but worried-looking.
Hi, Detective. Hey, you coming around real good.
Hi, Lieutenant. What brings you?
As if you didn't know.
He stares down at you. Detective Lieutenant Parker, New York City Police. Stern, square, and a friend.
That Abner Reed shindig. I hear you were an innocent bystander in the cemetery.
Did they return the guy?
Yeah. None the worse for his experience.
Newspapers got it yet?
No, we're trying to work it through before it gets any publicity.
What kind of a guy is he, this Abner Reed?
Oh, a nice enough kid. He used to be a dancing instructor. That's how he met the lady with the bucks.
She been liberal with him?
Liberal as she can be, I suppose. Rich, but plenty tightwad, that one.
What did he do for amusement before he got married?
He ran around a lot. Nightclub stuff and things. Handsome kid. Figures for a lot of gals. Why this line of questioning?
Trying to get an idea as to his background. If it was hard guys that he used to run around with, it might clue us to the brains behind this snatch.
It's all been done, my lad, and what we've come up with is a large selection of zeros. Now, let's hear your story, huh?
You give it to him. The whole deal, and his face furrows up as he ponders it.
What makes you a target, Pete?
I wish I knew.
First, the attempt at the cemetery, then the attack at your apartment. You sure you told me everything?
Everything I know, Louis. But I'm going to know more. Somebody sets me up as a clay pigeon, then it becomes my job to find out who's taking target practice. Any objections, Lieutenant, to my sticking my nose into it?
If my objections could keep you out.
Thanks, pal.
Okay, then I'll beat it now. You get your rest. But remember, when they let you out of here, we work this one together, huh?
Sure enough, Lieutenant. Anger and well-being seem to run hand in hand, and as your health improves, so your anger mounts. By the time you're out of the hospital, you're tense as a piano wire and fit to bust wide open. You run around and ask questions. You see Mrs. Reed several times. The husband's in Bermuda recuperating, but Parker's interviewed him time and again and has squeezed every possible fact out of him. And now the husband's back in town, but you're not wasting your time there anymore. Parker's an expert, and Parker's already wrung him dry. So now you're sitting in your office and thinking about your next move. And then your next move is made for you. Oh?
Mr. Chambers? Peter Chambers?
Yeah, this is he.
My name is Sandra Mantell. I live at 1786 East 54th Street, apartment 2, downstairs.
Yes, Miss Mantell.
Okay, I want to talk to you about a kidnapping.
Hmm?
The kidnapping of Abner Reed.
What? What's that?
I'm involved in it. It was my idea, really. I dreamed it up. What? I was supposed to get a third, 1/3 share. But I'm not getting it, so I want to talk.
Yes, Sandra.
I want you to make a deal for me, Mr. Chambers. If I spill, I want to be able to cop a plea. If I turn in that state's evidence, I want a suspended sentence.
So why are you calling me?
Because I know you're mixed up in it. Because I want you to go to the cops and tell them I'll spill the whole deal. Nobody's going to cross me and get away.
Hello? 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 The address she gave you is near enough. You slam out of the office and you run all the way, and then you're there, apartment 2. And you're in the presence of death, a blonde with blood on her face. But there's another blonde standing by, and this one's very much alive.
Who are you?
Peter Chambers. This girl was talking to me when that happened. You didn't do it, did you?
No.
Who are you?
Betty Royal. My name's Betty Royal. I'm her roommate. I've only been her roommate for a week.
Did you call the cops?
Yes, I phoned.
A well-stacked blonde. A beautiful blonde, a live one. The dead one must have been pretty, too. You prowl around and you see the gun on the floor. You see that the receiver's back on the hook, too, but that figures. Betty Royal said she called the cops.
Let me tell you what happened.
Wait. Let me ask the questions, Miss Royal. Now, that gun on the floor, is that yours?
No, it's not mine. I found it.
Easy, does it? Easy.
But
Just tell me what happened.
I was coming back from rehearsal.
Yeah?
I'm a ballet dancer. And as I came into the hallway, I heard the shots. I hurried forward, the door opened, and a man came running out. We bumped into each other, and that's when the gun dropped to the floor. He struck me and ran out.
What did he look like?
I have no idea. I came in and I found her. Like that. She was dead.
And then?
I went out in the hall for the gun. I remembered about not touching things. Fingerprints. I kicked it with my foot. I kicked it along until I worked it into the apartment.
Good girl.
Then I picked up the dangling receiver and I called the police.
She's in tears again. And you go to her and you hold her. And she's a cuddly little package. And you think about how sweet this could be under different circumstances. Cops. Lots of cops. Tons of cops. And they're in charge of Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker.
Never fails, huh? When there's a corpse, there's you.
It's mixed up with the other thing, Lieutenant.
What other thing?
You straighten them out on current events. From the phone calling your office to right now.
You wearing a gun, Pete?
Yeah.
Good. Now listen to me. For once, will you listen to me?
Don't I always listen, Lieutenant?
Okay. There's some kind of crazy killer loose, right?
Right.
And he's mixed up with that Abner Reed snatch, right?
Right as rain, Lieutenant.
And you're still unfinished business on his list, right?
Right as a real downpour.
So go home and lock the door. You stay there.
Now, what are you going to do in the meantime?
I'm going to work at my trade. But I'll come up and see you, Pete, as soon as I get loose from all this, and then we'll knock it around some more. But don't open your door to anybody but me.
So you go home. You're a good little boy, and you've listened to Papa. You sit around like an old lady with lumbago. But you sit. You do some home cooking and some home drinking. But you sit. Finally, at 2 a.m. Who is it?
Louis Parker.
Oh. Bit of the cup that cheers, Lieutenant?
Yeah, I can use a little cheer.
There you are.
Thank you. That hits the right spot.
Well, look, let's get down to cases, Lieutenant.
Ah, there's my boy. Always in there pitching.
Cases, Louis.
Well, Petey boy, that gun on the floor was the murder gun.
Good.
And we've got a gorgeous set of fingerprints off it. Only prints on it, as a matter of fact.
Good.
So, now we come to the catch.
There's got to be a catch.
The prints match nothing that we've got on file. Don't match anything out of Washington. Where's that leave us?
Way out in left field on a rainy day, but there's no ball game.
Guess who was her boyfriend?
Guess whose boyfriend?
The dead doll? That's Sandra Mantell. Oh, by the way, you know what her business was?
I don't know nothing.
Hooch dancer, burlesque. Pretty good at it, too.
I'm thrilled. Now, who's the boyfriend?
Nicky Darrow.
What?
Nicky Darrow.
Oh, that was a rhetorical what, Lieutenant? It was a what of amazement, a what of astonishment, a what of shock.
Okay, all right. Stop picking on me.
Nicky Darrow, huh? Well, don't you call that a lead?
We had him in. We questioned him. We did the fingerprint bit. Total reaction negative. We had to release him.
What time is it?
It's 2:30 in the morning.
Let's get out of here.
Out. Where are you going?
Work. You?
I'm going to sleep. Pete.
Yes, Lieutenant.
Be careful.
Nicky Darrow, a hoodlum with big ideas. Ex-gunman, ex-con, ex-crook. Gone real respectable now. Owner of a fancy saloon. Caterer to cafe society. Big wheel with the theatrical folk. But way down deep under, deadly as a two-headed rattlesnake bent on mischief. You get to Nick's place, which is hopping, and you jostle through the happy people to Nick.
Well, the private eyeball. Long time no see, so.
Can I talk to you, Nicky?
Sure, talking with you, Nicky's liable to get educated.
He's big, he's arrogant, he's power drunk. He leads you through to the back, and he sits you down.
Hey, Pelzo. Real nice and comfortable. Have a drink, huh, at the house. Okay?
Thanks, Nicky.
Waiter, couple of drinks here. Scotch for the eyeball. That's his drink, scotch. Was it tickling you, pal?
That kind of tickling, you can die laughing.
What are you talking about?
Bullets. You on my back, Nicky?
Yeah, I don't even know what you're beginning to think you want to talk about.
Somebody's blowing spitballs at me, Nicky. Any idea who?
No, sir, I got no idea who. No how.
Good enough. Now we shift the gear. Girlfriend of yours died today of unnatural causes.
Yeah, so I hear.
Any ideas on that, like who done it?
No, but I'm going to find out, pal. This is one time I'm working on your side.
Okay, now we shift to high. You beginning to stick your dirty mitts into kidnapping, too?
Talk nice to Nicky.
I talk the way I want to talk, to whom I want to talk.
You're a sweetheart kind of guy, a lot of guts. I like a guy with a lot of guts. The answer is no.
No to what?
Have a little sense, pal. The snatch racket is out for any guy with brains. There's easier ways to turn a buck.
That's all. Bye now, Nicky. Live it up. Have fun, big shot.
Hey, there's drinks coming.
We'll skip it this trip. So you're back where you started, fresh out of Leeds. And it goes on like that for the next few days. Long days, lumpy ones, slow-moving. And you're wearing your hardware, and you're turning to look over your shoulder wherever you are. You've called on Betty Royal a few times, and you like that. You like that very much. And now you're calling on her again, for no reason at all, except that you like that very much. But you find her breathless with excitement.
I found something, Mr. Chambers. I think it could be important.
Pete, not Mr. Chambers. Pete, remember?
Yes, Peter. A little black book. It belongs to... Well, it belonged to Sandra. She must have put it into my bag by mistake, and that bag's been in my locker at rehearsal hall.
Let's see it. A little black book with a lot of names, and not one that means anything to you. But they may mean a lot to Parker, so you latch on to the lovely Betty Royal, who's as lovely and as regal as her name, and off you go, a chattering twosome, downtown to police headquarters, downtown to Detective Lieutenant Parker. And you barge in without knocking because you think you've got right. Only to find that he's got company, so you start backing out again.
Come in, Pete. Miss Royal.
Thank you kindly, Governor.
Thank you.
Company's a tall young man with a bruiser's shoulders and an angel's face.
Lieutenant Parker, I found a little black book. I found it in my locker.
Sandra,
It doesn't belong to me. Mistaken bags. It's Sandra's. Sandra Martell's.
This is the little black book, Lieutenant.
Yes.
Prattling is God's given right to a beautiful girl.
Well, thank you, Peter. By the way, let me introduce Abner Reed. I don't think you two have ever met. Abner Reed, Peter Chambers, Miss Betty Royal.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
Glad to know you. Well, Lieutenant, as we were saying...
Wait a minute.
Situation.
What did you say your name was?
I just told you.
I'm asking him. Come on, fella, keep talking. What did you say your name was?
My name, as the lieutenant told you, Abner Reed. Abner Reed, of course.
You jump him right away. You don't wait. He's big and you want the first punch. And you get the first punch in, but he takes it standing up and lets do a few of his own.
All right, stop it. Break it up. What the devil's going on here?
You slip by a couple of his lefts, and then he's wide open, and you come up with one off the floor, and he catches it clean on the button. And now he's down and out and they'll stay out until someone brings them to.
You're crazy, man. That's assault and battery. You're going to do time, fella.
Yeah.
Boy, you really flipped your wig this time. Here, let me help
Stay
you.
away from him.
Now, look, Pete.
Look, you and I, Lieutenant, we've thrown a lot of questions around. There's a couple of answers coming up right now.
Like what?
Like why I was shot at the graveyard and shot up in my apartment. Like why Sandra Mantell was killed. Like why she called me in the first place. Like why that gun has fingerprints.
Easy. One at a time.
Oh, let's take the last one first. Fingerprints on a gun.
Yeah.
A guy dropping it when he collides with a dame. Panicking, running out, leaving it there. Does that sound professional?
Not especially.
Well, a rule's out a pro. What does a rule in? An amateur.
So
let's do it right side up now. Now, here's a guy, Abner Reed. He married a large hunk of dough. But he can't reach too much of it because she's frugal.
So
at the suggestion of a friend of his, Miss Sandra Mantell, and you'll find, I'm sure, with a good deal of digging, that those two had a close sub-rosa association.
Well, never mind what I'll find out. Let's get this over with first.
On her suggestion, they figured out a beauty. The guy kidnapped himself. Remember Mrs. Reed talked in the alleged ransom discussions to nobody but him on the phone?
Yeah.
He knew the old dame. She'd pay and play ball, which she did.
But why? Why were you attacked there in the cemetery?
Because Reed didn't want any remnants hanging around. But, Pete, how did you tab him so quick?
He never bothered to disguise his voice in the graveyard. He figured to leave me there for dead, and this was the first time I've heard it since.
So he punches bullets at you in your apartment, and that time he almost made it.
And then when he wouldn't abide with Sandra, she decided
Everybody's a detective. Although you're 100% right, Betty Lass. She called me, knew where to call me, because she was in it from the very beginning.
He caught her in the act and finished her off.
And if you will kindly use the fingers of that comatose gentleman for the purpose of making fingerprint impressions, I don't have a doubt in the world what you'll find. And so, 1 hour later, Abner Reed is booked for murder and extortion. And you're strolling in the joyful sunshine with Betty Royal clinging to your arm tightly and proudly. And what prettier termination can there be to so unfortunate a circumstance as murder?
And there you've had Crime and Peter Chambers. Dane Clark was starred as Peter Chambers. Crime and Peter Chambers, transcribed, was created, produced, and written by Henry Kane. Others in the cast were Bill Zuckert, heard as Lieutenant Parker, with Evelyn Varden, Patricia Wheel, and Roger DeCoven. It was directed by Fred Way. This is Fred Collins inviting you to tune in next week, same time, same station, for Dane Clark in Crime and Peter Chambers. Crime and Peter Chambers. Created by Henry Kane, transcribed and starring Dane Clark. A private investigator, duly licensed and duly sworn, Peter Chambers.
You're a private eye. That's your business. Anything else? That's for laughs. And a lot of laughs tonight. You were pub crawling, doing the visiting fireman bit at the taverns and bistros. You're on your way home now, and you're going to stop off at Krause's newsstand for the papers. Old man Krause, he's been there as long as you can remember. And then you see the commotion. Somebody's working the old man over, beating him to the ground. You get there as fast as you can. Easy.
It's you, Mr. Chambers. Thanks the Lord.
Easy does it, Mr. Krause. Come here. Come on, let me help you up. Up. There you are.
Did you see him, Mr. Mr. Chambers, did you see who it was?
No, he ran off as he saw me coming. Did you get a look at him, Mr. Krause?
No, I was just close. He hit me from behind, and then he jumped me.
But why you? Where does a man like you fit in with a beating?
Oh, it was more than that, Mr. Chambers, more than a beating.
What are you talking about?
Whoever it was wanted to kill me.
Why, you're a peaceful man, Mr. Krause. The thoughtful, peaceful, philosophical man. Everybody loves you.
Seems not everybody.
Well, look, I'm going home with you.
No.
No. I'm taking you home.
You need not bother, Mr. Chambers. I am not afraid.
Oh, come along. Come along now, Mr. Krause. Come on.
Thank you. You are very kind.
He doesn't live far, and he's none the worse for his experience. And you get him home, and he's fumbling with the key and the old-fashioned lock.
So these old eyes are not what they used to be. There. Please follow me, Mr. Chambers. I will put the light on.
But he doesn't have a chance to put the light on. Neither of you have a chance to do a thing. The guy who was inside waiting for Krause, he was in a dark room, but he was facing the light of the hallway. And that was all to the good. He couldn't see much of you or of Krause, just your silhouettes, but you could see him. And better than that, you recognized him. Maybe Krause didn't know who his assailant was, but you did. Well, he's gotten clean away, so there's nothing to do now but find the light switch and look to Mr. Krause. Come on, Mr. Krause. Mr. Krause. All right?
Yeah.
Now, look, I'll get a towel and some water.
Yeah.
Just stay where you are.
Sure.
Right there on the floor.
Sure.
I don't think you're hurt very badly. Yeah. It's nothing at all. It's a scratch, a bullet crease. You're as good as new. Once more, let me help you up. Be my guest.
Yes. Lucky, pretty lucky. Twice in one night. And I'm still around to talk about it. I will sit here.
Good.
Why somebody should want to kill me? Maybe a month ago, but not now.
What's that? A month ago what?
You ever hear of Big Benny Larson?
Who hasn't? Big Benny, Big Goon.
Well, there was a fight one night in front of my newsstand. Big Benny knifed a man, Mr. Snuffnose Angelino. I saw it all.
Oh?
While Mr. Snuffnose was in the hospital and they were wondering whether he would live, the police assigned protection to me because I was the only witness. Then Mr. Snuffnose pulled through and he didn't press charges, and Big Benny was released and the protection of police was taken away. There's no reason anymore for Big Benny to harm me.
Then who else?
I have no idea, Mr. Chambers.
Look, you ever hear of the dancer?
The dancer?
Slick Hood from Chicago. His name is Danzig or something, but they call him the Dancer.
I have never been to Chicago, Mr.
One of those tall, slender, handsome guys. Beautiful, but deadly as the front end of a loaded gun. Oh, murder that one for the lady.
But what does this have to do with...
Nothing. Just started a train of thought. Now, look, Mr. Krause, you're going to the police with this.
No. I have had enough of
wait
police.
a minute.
I have a gun and a license
Now, listen,
I am not afraid. It is only that I do not understand it.
Do you have a family, Mr. Krause?
Just a daughter, an adopted daughter, Irene. She is married now to a lawyer, Frank Buckley.
Well, you're going to tell her about this?
No.
Why not?
Well, we are not really friends anymore. She has gone away from me. I hardly see her anymore.
Well, you mind if I talk with her?
Well, I cannot stop you.
Well, that sort of wraps it up, I suppose. Look, I'm getting out of here, Mr. Krause, but you bolt that door after me and use that gun if you have to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chambers. And please, do not worry about me.
But you do worry. You go home and you try to sleep, but it tampers with your dream. Where's the connection? Why should a dull boy like the dancer be looking to eradicate a peaceful citizen? The old man said he never heard of him, and you believe Krause. You sleep finally, but it's like sleeping under a winking neon light. And in the morning, you're looking up an address in the phone book. Frank Buckley. It's on 57th Street, and it turns out to be a combination of home and office. A lawyer that's plugging at his business, nothing more. No rich, big estate guy.
Yes, Mr. Chambers, please sit down. Make yourself comfortable.
Frank Buckley. Bald, thin, angular, 50-ish. A lot of loose skin hanging under his jowls.
Would you like a cigarette, Mr. Chambers?
No, thank you. Not now. Mr. Buckley, it's really your wife I want to talk to.
So? Why?
Well, sir, I'm a private detective.
Private detective?
Well, this is not in the line of business. I'm a friend of an elderly gentleman, a Mr. Krause.
Oh, yes. My wife's father.
Well, an attempt was made on his life last night. He won't go to the police with it, and I thought perhaps if I talked with Krause's daughter, your wife...
My wife and I have been separated for the past 6 months.
Oh?
She's already instituted divorce proceedings.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But in a matter like this, she's now living at Eastburn Apartments on 74th.
Oh, thank you, sir.
How is the old man?
Working, as always.
Well, he won't have to work long. He'll be quite independent in a short...
Old man Krause, independent? You mean rich or something? How come?
I'm sorry. Slip of the tongue, sir. Matter of my profession. Attorney and client. Privileged communication.
Okay with me. All I wanted to know is where I could reach Irene, Mrs. Buckley.
Yes, of course. And if there's anything I can do for the old gentleman, please don't hesitate.
All right, then. Good morning, Mr. Buckley.
And a very good morning to you, sir.
Next stop, Eastburn Apartments. Not too swanky, not too slummy. About in the middle. But the occupant of apartment 7G, nothing in the middle about that one. The word is gorgeous. Not soft gorgeous or mushy gorgeous, but hard like granite. Glittering gorgeous, like a diamond. But gorgeous nonetheless.
Well, ain't you the handsome one?
Mrs. Buckley?
I'm using my maiden name, Irene Cordoni.
I thought it was Krause.
Should have been, but it ain't. I was in show business before I got married. How would you like this? And now, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Irene Krause.
Black hair, black eyes, and a loose red mouth. Young and quite a figure. She's wearing high-heel lounging shoes, white shorts, and a white bandana. And that's about it.
Like a drink, Mr.
Chambers? Peter Chambers?
Would you like a little drinky, handsome?
Well, it's a little too early in the morning for me.
Oh?
Look, Miss Cordoni.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you'd talk to your father.
My father?
Well, your foster father.
Oh. What's with him?
A couple of attempts were made on his life last night.
The old man?
Somebody near to him ought to tell him one of two things.
Like what?
Either he goes to the police, or he kind of stays holed up, at least until this thing clears.
What's your interest?
I'm a friend.
Well, if you're such a good friend, why don't you tell him?
I've told him, but he's stubborn.
Stubborn with you, stubborn with me. Furthermore, the old man and I, well, we kind of don't see eye to eye anymore.
When'd you see him last?
I haven't seen him since I broke up with my husband. Maybe 6 months. Been in Chicago, maybe 5 months of that. Only got back a few weeks ago.
I still think you ought to talk to him.
Quite a busybody, aren't you?
Well, some say yes, some say no.
But you're cute. I'll say that. You know, I'm a sucker for a good-looking man. Are you sure you won't join me in a drink?
Some other time, sister.
Oh, make it soon, brother.
Sure.
I'll be expecting you.
A man-eater, that Irene Cordoni, Buckley, Krause. You take your leave, slightly reluctant, but you take your leave. You figure you've done your bit, and you've got your own work to attend to. Like pulling open the office window and letting the air in and looking over the mail. But you detour to pick up the papers at Krause's. But Krause's newsstand is closed. So you're on your white horse again, making for Krause's apartment.
Come in, Mr. Chambers. Just got back myself.
Where have you been, Mr. Krause?
A funeral.
Funeral?
The old lady, Regina Kent. You must have known the old lady.
Regina Kent, her funeral?
Yeah.
Well, look, you can't take that so hard. She must have been past 90 years of age. Death must come, Mr. Krause, sooner or later.
Sure, but not by murder.
Murder? The old lady? Look, you're not making sense, Mr. Krause.
It is sense. I wish it wasn't.
When did it happen?
A couple of days ago. She was coming from the movies. Bang. Shot in the head.
You mean a mugger, a thief, one of those things?
Nothing was stolen. She was killed. The kind old lady killed meaningless for no reason.
Oh. She was a good friend of yours, wasn't she, Mr. Krause?
Yes. 20 years she is a customer. And many evenings we talk and talk for hours. A fine, wonderful old lady.
And rich, too. Reputed to be worth, maybe $500,000.
Richest, my boy, is in the heart.
Well, it doesn't hurt in the pocketbook either.
That is true, too.
Hey, wait a minute. You're not quite as impractical as you sound. Didn't you once tell me that you recommended a lawyer to her? If she didn't think you had a practical side, she wouldn't have asked your advice for a lawyer.
Yes. It's a long time ago. Recommended my son-in-law, Frank Buckley. Oh. And she was very satisfied. Remained his client all the way till now.
And what about your problem, Mr. Krause?
Problems? Me?
Well, last night.
Crazy people, crackpots. Somebody must be making a mistake.
Now, look, you're not going back to work, are you?
Sure, I'm not afraid, Mr. Chambers, not at all. And do not worry. You see?
Oh.
I carry, how do you call it, the neutralizer. I have it from the first war yet.
And you're not going to talk to the cops about it?
No. Do not worry about old Krause. You are a good, kind man, Mr. Chambers.
So the good, kind man starts minding his own business. You go to the office and pull up the window and let the air in and read your mail. Then you listen to the ball game. Then you call downtown to headquarters to Detective Lieutenant Parker, but they tell you he's out of town and won't be back until 10 in the evening. Client falls in and you're busy for the rest of the day, and pretty soon it's nighttime after 10, and you're at headquarters because that Krause thing is buzzing around in your head like it's a beehive.
Well, always a pleasure, Mr. Private Eye. You bring the breath of springtime into this dank old office, or is that the breath of scotch?
Detective Lieutenant Louis Parker, aces all the way. Good friend, good cop, good companion.
Well, seriously, Pete, you look a little worried. Something I can do for you?
Maybe.
Just tell Papa Parker anything to get the creases out of your forehead.
Old man Krause.
Guy owns a newsstand up your way?
Yeah, has he got anything to fret about?
Well, like what?
Big Benny Larson or his goons?
No, not a thing. Snuff-nosed Angelino is a rabbit, afraid to sign a complaint. Puts Big Benny in the clear, and Benny's not looking to make trouble for the old man. Benny makes trouble only when he has to.
Mm-hmm. That's one worry off my mind.
Oh, you got more?
Got a little curiosity.
Fire away, friend.
Regina Kent.
Oh. Little old dame, 90 years of age, gets knocked off with a bullet in her brain, and strictly a professional job. Real peculiar deal.
Has it got any angles?
No, not yet it ain't. Unless you call bafflement an angle.
Well, you got an idea about the torpedo?
We got better than that. Got a full and perfect description.
And what's holding you back?
Haven't got anybody that fits the full and perfect description. This is confidential, Pete.
Of course, Louis.
We got a witness to that Regina Kent killing that nobody knows about, not even the newspapers. Lady by the name of Benson.
Benson?
She was sitting in her bedroom. It was dark. She couldn't sleep. Happens to have the next apartment to this Regina Kent.
She saw our torpedo?
Saw him clear and saw him long. He was hanging around for quite a time waiting for the old lady. Mrs. Benson kept watching him. Then when Regina Kent appeared, she saw the actual shooting, saw him jump into a car and drive off.
And she looked over your rogues gallery.
Looked over everything. Most cooperative. Furnished us a full description, ready to identify the guy whenever we pick him up.
Mm-hmm. Let's hear that description, Louis.
Well, he's a good-looking boy, about 6 feet tall.
Parker talks and your heart starts rapping at your chest like a fist on a door, because what you're listening to is a perfect description of the dancer. No wonder they can't find a guy to fit the description. This is a Chicago guy, and a guy who was never arrested, never printed, never mugged.
What are you getting excited about, Petey?
Stick around, pal.
Why?
I may be of some help.
So why should I stick around? Why shouldn't I go with you?
Because that's the way I wanted this trip.
Oh, the private eye and his various moods. Okay, Detective, I stick around. What do I stick around for?
Phone call. From me.
Like a little more dope.
I'd love a little more dope.
Your friend Krause. He's going to be rich.
That's the second time I've heard that.
This time it's authentic. Regina Kent made a will. She leaves all her dough to charity except $200,000. Now, guess who gets that?
I give up.
Old man Krause, yeah. 200,000 solid smackers. But remember, it's still confidential. The will ain't been probated yet. We got to see it on police business.
There's got to be a lawyer.
Huh?
Who made that will for her? Who was a lawyer?
A guy by the name of Frank Buckley.
That's it. Goodbye, Louis.
Hey, what's your hurry? Where are you going? Hey, Pete.
So, back to 57th Street. You rouse Frank Buckley out of his dreams, and you set him up on the facts. He tries to make with the legal palaver, but you shake him out of it, and finally you throw him the jackpot question. Did your wife know about Regina Kent's will?
Well,
Unanswer me, Mr. Buckley.
Yes. I told her when the old lady originally made the will. I thought it'd please her to know that someday her foster father... After all, she was my wife then. We were living together, husband and wife.
Next stop, Eastburn Apartments. And the lady herself answers. She's wearing tight silk slacks and a tight silk blouse. And she's still got a drink in her hands. You shove in before she got a chance to shove you out. Now, easy. You asked me to come back, remember?
Oh.
You said you'd be expecting me?
Well, you're a little premature, sweetie. Right now, I'm expecting my future husband.
The dancer, huh? Well, he sent me with a message.
Messages. He's due her any minute, and he sends... Hey, how do you know about the dancer? What are you doing here anyway?
Catching up with a little hunk of murder?
Get out. Get out.
Relax, lady.
You get out before I fling this glass at you.
You'll fling what?
Oh.
She misses, but it gives you the excuse to do what you were going to do anyway. You clip her under the chin. Not too hard, just enough. And she sighs and slides to the floor. Then you go into action with the adhesive bit. The underworld teaches the upper world a lot of little tricks. You find the tape in the medicine cabinet and you wrap her wrists behind her, tie her ankles tight, and put a gag across her mouth. You carry her to the bedroom and lock the door, and then you're back in the living room, and you're waiting for a murderer. You open the door for the dancer, and you hit him first. And you pull him in afterwards. Then you take his gun away from him, and you slap him back to consciousness.
What?
Come on there.
What's going on here?
Nothing except a little chit-chat before you get hauled off.
Hauled off where?
First, police headquarters. And after that, there's a hot little chair up at Sing Sing.
Why, you...
Careful, fella, careful. You're looking at your own gun. And I take it, it's loaded.
Who the devil are you?
I'm a busybody by the name of Chambers. Nemesis to you.
So what's it all about?
1, the murder of an old lady, Regina Kent. 2, the attempted murder of old man Krause.
You're nuts.
I got a witness by the name of Benson, says I ain't.
Why should I want to bump an old woman?
All right, let me tell you. A doll by the name of Irene Cordoni shows up in Chicago a few months ago. She goes for good-looking guys, and you're a good-looking guy. You're also a hard guy, and she makes you a proposition.
Like what?
Like this. She knows from her former husband that an old lady made a will leaving 200,000 clams to old man Krause. Krause happens to be this doll's foster father. He's got no other family but hers. So if the old dame, Regina Kent, if she dies, old man Krause gets $200,000. But if after that he dies, dear old Irene Cordoni Krause, she inherits from him. So the doll propositions the dancer. Knock the two of them off in that order. First the old dame, then the old man, then the doll and the dancer get married. And they live pretty good. And they can pay their rent for quite a while with $200,000.
Yeah, good story, but go prove it. Don't start bullying me about no Benson who's a witness.
I'm bullying you, kiddo. Sure I'm bullying you. Let me show you how I'm bullying you. See? First you pull the phone over like so. Then you dial O for operator like so. Then you say like so into the phone. Police, quickly. And so, a few days later, you're back at Krause's newsstand.
You see, Mr. Chambers, I do not wear the gun anymore.
Well, there's no need. And I see by your papers that the grand jury's already indicted those two.
First-degree murder. People are so crazy.
You, going to retire on that $200,000?
Me retire? I die. No. Maybe a few vacations, perhaps. But Krause works. Krause loves to work. By the way, Mr. Chambers, there will be a fee for you. Certainly you did fine work. You will send a bill, eh?
No.
Send a large.
No bill, Mr. Krause. This one was on the house. Oh, I'm tired. Think I'll take the News and Mirror and so to bed.
With the News and Mirror?
And there you've had Crime and Peter Chambers. Dane Clark was starred as Peter Chambers. Crime and Peter Chambers Transcribed was created and written by Henry Kane. Others in the cast were Bill Zuckert, heard as Lieutenant Parker, Guy Repp as Krause, and Rita Lynn as Irene. It was directed by Fred Way. And this is Fred Collins inviting you to tune in next week, same time, same station, for Dane Clark in Crime and Peter Chambers.
Hello, I am Pyotr Lupov. I would like to sell you pills. If you will call me, I will sell you pills. Please call Pyotr at 999. Pills. Remember, the number is 999 pills. Please call. I am Pyotr. I have pills.